This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast.
All right, Fact Check This. And I've been out for a while. Life has been crazy. But that kind of goes along with what we're going to talk about tonight, because tonight I am joined by Dag, Duke, and Jay Forte, and we're going to be talking about TV sitcom dads from the 90s. And that, life being crazy is one of the things that was always kind of a theme of a lot of those 90s sitcom shows. And even the funny ones had like good, shit hits the fan, and you've got the strong father figure that keeps everybody in line. So that's kind of been my role over the last couple months. And when Jay suggested that we have this conversation, I was like, oh, yes, I definitely want to have this conversation. So tonight we will be talking about TV sitcom dads from the 90s. But first, everybody give your introductions. Dag, start.
Dag.
We go clockwise.
Sorry, what am I doing?
Introducing yourself?
Oh, that's easy. Hey, y'all, I'm Dag. I don't know. Been on the show a few times before. Daggerist for long. I don't know. I do farm stuff. I've watched television. That's my qualifying thing for this episode, I guess.
Yes.
I was alive in the 80s and 90s.
You meet all of the criteria.
Okay, cool. Right on.
All right. I'm Duke Chastain. I don't know if I've been on this podcast before. I know I've been on the sports podcast a few times, and we've also done a couple of the happy hour hangouts on Friday. But I too am a child of the 90s. I have watched all of these shows and grew up on them that we're probably going to be talking about. And I think that probably is the only reason. Let's see. All these guys. Yep. I've watched them all. And the only one we're missing there is the dad from Dinosaurs. But I think
are you serious? Earl. Dude, I had it ready. I said, dude, there's one thing we're missing on this.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
This fucking show, dude. I had it ready. I wanted to talk about them because this was one that we watched like as a family. Not all of the ones in that photo there. Who is the guy in the middle? First off, let me say that I didn't recognize that guy.
Hang on.
Bring it back.
Jay, do your introduction, and then we'll get back.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, same with what they said. I'm some asshole on the internet. You can follow me or not at the J Forte.
All right. So which one in the middle are you talking about? You talking
about Danny Tanner or Uncle Phil?
Or your Uncle Phil?
No. The who would be
the Wonder Years dad.
Yeah, that's the Wonder Years.
Oh, okay.
Is it?
Gotcha.
No. So isn't it?
Isn't it? It's not the dad from Boy Meets World.
No.
That's the other one.
Right. I see what you're thinking, Justin. Who is that guy, though?
Is it Alf?
I thought the Wonder Years dad looked old for us when we were kids, in like the early 90s.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We're getting started over here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, that's wrong. Yeah, not the Wonder Years. Who is the
unlocking my weapenized autism?
Yeah, because everyone else checks out.
Overall, this is a pretty good mix, though. Let me check my notes. I think other than the dinosaurs, I didn't have anybody else. So obviously in this photo, they don't have like cartoons. So like I would say that Homer.
They don't have Red.
The big one.
Homer.
Yeah,
they're missing Red. Yeah.
I didn't know we were going to restrict
Red.
The 90s and not like what do you call it when they rerun the stuff? Syndication.
Syndication.
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah,
Andy Griffith and Jed Clampett would be like two I would throw in there if that was part of the criteria.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't. I guess we didn't have strict definitions here on what we were doing, but I felt I had to mention those. So like as far as like, because there's ones that like maybe you watch, maybe you didn't. So I'll say this, and I mean I'm gonna make my parents sound terrible, but the two of the guys in on that photo there, their television shows would not have been allowed in my home. You can take a pic as to which one.
All right, all right. Let me take a guess. Married with Children is one of them that probably was not allowed in your house.
No, we watched that.
Black Eyes.
was gonna say Family Matters and
Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes, those were not
All right,
allowed.
if it wasn't for the crudeness, it was for the blackness.
well, no, it's just Will
Yeah.
was a menace. That's why.
Yeah, well, so I think that some of it was like my parents were kind of strict with like the content that like I was allowed to watch when I was a kid. And so like we watched Simpsons as a family for like the first couple seasons, and then we sort of stopped and I wasn't allowed to watch it. And I think that I was running around like pretending to be Bartman. Remember he was like the superhero, and like I think my parents decided that's not the best role model. So they put the kibosh on that.
We caught some of that too. My dad wouldn't let us watch The Simpsons, but The Simpsons came on Thursday nights, and Thursday night is when they had the church board meetings. So Dad would leave to go to the board meeting. Mom would be there with me and my brother, and Mom didn't know that Dad didn't want us watching The Simpsons. So we would talk her into letting us watch The Simpsons anyway, on whenever Dad had board meetings. So.
Hey, you always got to do something behind Dad's back. You can always manipulate Mom a little bit easier than you can.
And I mean, if we're talking about cartoons, another one that I don't know if it necessarily fits the cartoon dad figure, but Master Splinter.
Oh,
and he is a father figure for sure.
Yeah, strong male role model.
First movie came out in 1990. It's still part of your criteria.
Heck yeah.
And until the Blair Witch Project, the highest grossing independent film of all time.
Oh, get out! Really?
Yeah. They only had
considered that an independent film.
They didn't have a big studio. They only had like $3 or $4 million to make the whole movie. So they threw a bunch of kung fu guys in rubber suits. They had heat stroke, and we got that fucking gold.
And that makes perfect sense why when they went back for the second one sucked because they sold out to the studio. I remember the whole thing was they cut out all the weapons. They cut out like half the violence because you weren't allowed to do it now that it was all PG-ified.
Yeah, the whole moms against drunk driving crowd got involved, fucking losers. Trying to ruin everything.
They could have Vanilla Ice, but they couldn't have scythes. I mean, I don't get what the problem.
Drunk driving is the best part of driving. Why do we have? Oh wait, we're talking about that.
Role models.
Well, okay, so I want to bring something up here. Maybe this would be a good place to get us started. Sorry, I know it's not my show. Like, okay, so the parenting styles of like all those like dads are kind of like different, like the TV dads, right? Like, cause I think like the Danny Tanner is obviously like the way like vanilla, but a big theme with a lot of sitcom shows is the husband is a fat idiot, and like everybody else is like smart kind of thing. But that doesn't necessarily fit with all of those shows.
Correct.
So I think that the way that the characters and like the specifically the father figures are portrayed varies a bit show to show, but I definitely think it tends to be like, I mean,
well, okay, so like,
yes, there we go. With the visual aid, that's not necessarily the case with this bunch, though.
Well, but with this bunch, you've got Carl Winslow is kind of, he's kind of the fat guy, and he's kind of goofy, but also whenever things are serious,
he's solid.
He's a solid dad. Like he's the rock of that family. The same for Tim Taylor. Like he's a goofball that sets shit on fire and blows stuff up on his TV show, and he's always trying these weird kooky things. But when shit hits the fan, he locks down and he's dad. Even Al Bundy.
Even those three crazy boys, in line.
Even Al Bundy to some extent, like when they have stuff that gets serious on those episodes, he becomes like dad mode. He does what needs to be done to get shit taken care of for his family.
So out of that picture, who do you guys think is the most realistic to your father? Like for me, it's more of a Dan Connor type. John Goodman.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's tough.
My dad's Al Bundy, 1,000%. If you ever met my dad, you'd be like, all right, yeah. He loved the whole not the He-Man Haters Club. That's from like Little Rascals, Women's Haters Club. But,
No
ma'am club. That's my dad, 1,000%. So Al Bundy is him all the way.
Is he still accepting members?
My dad? Oh, absolutely. The older he gets, the worse he gets. He's like in his 70s. So he's like way older.
Oh, dude, we would get along fine. I'm like spiritually like born like 3 decades too late.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, he's still like a biker. And he's like in his 70s. So getting in fights with people. He'll never change. But that's only Yvonne. But I would have to say, out of all of the, like, thinking about all the 90s TV people, probably I would say Red Foreman. A combination of Red Foreman and Al Bundy is probably who my dad was.
I like that. Mine, I've actually said this before, a combination of Red Foreman and Hank Hill. Is
damn. King of the Hill was 90s.
Yeah, I was gonna get into this King of the Hill, but I've got that in my notes. Just felt it was worth mentioning because it is one of the opposites of my paradigm I just laid out too, where Hank is like the one smart guy on the show and everybody else is a dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the opposite of like a Family Guy or a Simpsons or something like that. Because especially the cartoons are like that. The guy's got to be real dopey.
Well, but even with like the Simpsons, you know, Homer is the idiot goofball, the lovable moron. But also, when shit hits the fan and things get serious, and they have, because they do have some serious episodes on The Simpsons, Homer becomes the lockdown dad. Like, and it makes it, I think, to some extent, it makes it more relatable because some kids probably have the dad that, seems like he's never there. He works all the time. You kind of envision him as just this, like, mid-tier fuck up. But whenever the family needs him, he's always solid and grounding. So, it's an interesting, you get to see the good and the bad on a lot of those characters, which we'll get to more, but like you don't see that as much anymore. Like we can talk about it. Like Peter Griffin. I don't know that there's ever an episode where Peter Griffin is like a good husband and father, period. Like ever. like you get that from Homer. You get that from all the other goofballs. I don't think you ever get that from
there.
Like,
there would be like a lesson at the end. Oh, Lois, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And oh, Peter, and then it's just back to normal. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of right. There's no overbearing gestures.
Yeah. Even when Peter is trying to do something like good to like make things right, he still does it in a fuck up way. Like, what was the one episode in the early few seasons where they like inherit like the mansion and then he becomes like a rich douchebag and ends up losing the house because he like auctioned something off, and then he's like, oh, well, he just figured it out by being a fuck up. He's like, oh, I found all these like pictures of your aunt being a whore, so we're gonna just sell these to the historical society.
They made it like a historical thing.
Because there's an old whorehouse. So it's like there's nothing really like good about it.
At the Jungle Fever
in a way. Yeah, exactly. That's how he fixes things, or he finds a Jew to do the taxes. It's like there's nothing really like redeeming about things that Peter does.
Yeah, fair enough.
Finds a Jew to do the taxes.
Do you remember that episode? It was like banned from TV.
I remember.
Would you wish upon us Weinstein or whatever?
Yeah, we
Pepper's Farm remembers.
Yeah.
Isn't that everybody's goal though, to find a good Jew to do your taxes?
I mean, if you're smart.
But that was like a lot of the themes.
Lawyering.
That was a lot of the themes, though. I guess, like, I don't know, we're all about the same age, right? Going into high school and things like that, puberty, all that. Like, a lot of the styles of writing was like geared towards like, hey, men are fucking retarded, and you need someone to come in and fix your problems, that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like where
I could have articulated it better, but
No, but you're right. It's like you kind of saw it a little bit with some of the like the shows that we're talking about, or like started off talking about, we'll talk more about, but those 90s dads, is that you started seeing the kind of like the seeds being laid of, all right, he's kind of like a fuck up goofball, but there were still redeeming qualities to him. But as things went along and you started getting into the 2000s and everything, it started going from the dad is just a goofball fuck up, and it's always everyone around him, the wife or something like that around him, the kids are what are the redeeming quality. They're the ones that fix the situation despite his retardedness. Like CD was working earlier when I went out to the store. I just put on Modern Family, whatever. But like Dumphy is like the perfect example of being just like the beta fuck up. And no matter what happens, it's still about like at the end, they just like pat him on the head. It's like, oh, Dad, good for you.
Yep.
And that just kind of seems like a constant theme of that show. That just kind of permeates through everything else.
Phil is a great character, though. I do have to say that. I love his.
No, I agree.
But you're totally right. There's also something that I sort of noticed throughout like the decades. Like it's bring up Modern Family. They have a lot of money. Okay, like it's like classy, right? And I sort of noticed it sort of feels like the 80s. It's like the shows were like richer people or people who had nice houses, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The 90s, it was people who struggled and were poor. Let's say Roseanne or something like that. Like dude was a fucking drywall guy. And then it sort of started to get back to rich people again in like the 2000s with like Modern Family and then what was Tim Allen's newer show, Last Man Standing.
The store owner,
very wealthy in that one as well.
What's that?
But that's a good point because I was just gonna say, when we were looking at the picture earlier, we were saying like, oh, what were the kind of things that like kind of tie them together? Where most of them are blue collar workers with middle class families, and that was kind of the theme.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good point, Dag. As you move on, it's like because when you're doing like in the 80s, what was the show with Michael J. Fox? All in the Family,
Doctor or something, right?
Silver Spoons? No.
Yeah.
Growing Pains? No, Silver Spoons.
Very affluent families.
Well, and then like Dag, we were talking about like Malcolm in the Middle the other day. Again, that's another like one of those 90s examples of like, normal ass family, kind of struggling middle class. We talked about the neighborhood they live in where they put the speed bump in because of the car going down the street. It's like no, but also like Hank is a good dad. He's the goofball, but he's also a good dad, and he provides for his family and takes care of his wife and all of their 5 kids eventually. So you keep Malcolm in the Middle, and they all have those weird goofball traits, but also they always bring them back to they are good father figures in the end, and that part of it has gone away as we've moved forward.
Yeah.
Is Dan Tanner the best, like nicest, like dad? Is he the sweetest one? I didn't watch a lot of Full House, but everything I remember, he was so like.
They made him
friendly.
very effeminate. He was always like we're gonna do some spring cleaning. He was always like wearing like the apron and all that stuff.
Going full single dad mode. Yeah.
Yes.
But then they had John Stamos to kind of play the more
the
like
macho man.
The macho man character in the show, and then you had
Dave Coulier.
Yeah,
Uncle
he was
Joe.
Uncle Joey.
Joey,
Yeah, he was kind of the goofball. So you had all of the archetypes fit into the 3 different characters. So like it's hard to just put like Danny Tanner alone on that, because it really was all 3 of them. It was him and Uncle Jesse and Uncle Joey that were the collective dads.
3 father figures. Yeah,
they were the patriarchs.
There.
And they were all,
I never really watched Full House too much. Like,
and they
that was
were
one of
all
the ones that I never really watched.
They were all strong father figure characters in their own ways. Yeah. Like they all had different styles about it, and they all also struggled with trying to figure out how to be a good dad, which is something as my kids are getting older, I'm also like wonder about that sometimes too. And it's like, like there's challenges with being a dad with teenagers and like life going on all the time, and it's interesting to think about those things, because as a kids we didn't watch the shows from the father's perspective, we watched it from the kid's perspective. And
plus they had a lot of Beach Boy cameos.
It's definitely one of those things where you go back and watch them again.
They had a lot of Beach Boys cameos, which was like really weird, I guess, for someone our age to be like, hell yeah, to see that. I don't know, man. Maybe
Let's go to
I'm an
Kokomo.
outlier.
Well, that's like so. Stephanie puts on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air whenever she goes to bed, and so I end up coming and laying down in bed a couple hours later and sit down, lay down in the bed in the middle of an episode, and so I'll watch an episode or two, and it's like, wow, like watching these as an adult is a lot different from watching these as a kid. Like you pick up on a lot of the stuff differently, and
no, I haven't watched Prince of Bel-Air in forever though, so yeah, that'd probably be a good one to check out.
Yeah, it's funny, like watching it now, like with like what you know now of like how Alfonso Ribeira and Will Smith turned out. It's like, oh yeah, like Carlton was the good kid, Will was the fuck up, and they're just laying it out right there on screen.
Well, you do really, as you get older, you start like identifying with a different character than you did when you were younger, right? Because you're like, Will Smith, he's cool or whatever. And you get older and you're like, shut up, youngster, or whatever, the funny dad, like you really start agreeing with him more. Red Foreman, like Duke, like you, probably he's
Red Foreman. Red Foreman's my spirit animal at this point. I'm like. Yeah. Anytime the kids are like, why are you like this? I'm like, just watch that 70s show. Like I am becoming
you are the reason I am like this. Not that big of a mystery. Y'all fucking showed up and ruined everything.
You kids are my Korea.
I call Sean dumbass so much. I almost forget his name sometimes.
I said, my foot, your ass.
Oh, shit.
You don't have to beat up the girls too much, though, do you? Your twin, and she seems like she's all right.
Yeah, she's okay.
She's okay.
She needs disciplining in different ways. Like she's a little bit. Yeah, she's a little bit full of herself. Like she's a good kid and she knows it. Like. A little too much sometimes, and it's like, need to knock.
Yeah, she's a female Justin.
Yeah, need to knock you down a peg or two, and then I start understanding like things that Stephanie says about me, and I'm like, oh, I'm seeing in my daughter the things my wife sees in me. I'm like, well, I'll deal with
it.
So you then ask yourself, what would Dan Tanner do?
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's funny.
It's Danny Tanner, thank you. He lived in San
My wife's
Francisco.
dad is literally Hank Hill. He wears the glasses. He looks exactly like him. He even is the manager of the local propane place. Like he talks kind of slow. Like my father-in-law is literally Hank Hill. That's crazy.
So you got a hookup. Cool.
Yes, we he keeps all of our propane in his name. That way he gets the manager That's why we get the manager discount on everything. We don't even get the regular employee discount. We get the manager discount.
He gets that cool 20% off. Well, thinking about King of the Hill, it's like we watch King of the Hill an awful lot. Like we'll fall asleep watching it, and like you mentioned before, I think what was it, Dag? You mentioned earlier that like King of the Hill, he's like our Hank Hill. He's the one that's smart. He's actually the smart, kind of level-headed person in the whole show. Mm-hmm. And you see like the different dynamic with that one compared to like most of these shows is that Peggy is the insufferable retard in the relationship. And usually it's not the woman that is the insufferable retard in the relationship in all these sitcoms or these shows. It's always the husband. But Peggy just like takes that to like 11. I'm like, I guess you can. That's Mike Judge's way of doling out equality or something, equity, if you will. But Peggy is just the absolute worst, and it seems like she gets worse as the years go on.
Yeah, like she straight up like does a lot of like lying and this and that. She does a lot of stuff that's poor quality wifing for sure.
Full of herself, like hubris to the max.
Yeah.
Well, I am an excellent lover.
Peggy, you're right about everything. I know, Hank.
Dear
More
Albano.
specific.
You're Albano.
Yeah, dude. Hank is like, though. And that's something else. The older I get, the more I'm like, I'm seriously, what would Hank do? He's like, get like a bracelet or something. How would Hank handle this? It's probably the best way to do it. And good work ethic too.
Well, you know what Ford stands for, Dag? Fix it again, Tony. Dale, that's a Fiat.
Well, I appreciate shows where there's actual blue collar dudes who do stuff like build stuff or work on cars or whatever. I can relate a lot easier with it,
Yeah, they used to.
Right. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say they used to gear stuff towards. Oh, I don't know the majority of this country, but anyway, go ahead, Duke.
No, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, oh my God, they used to make it like an everyman that people can relate to. And it's crazy when you saw how, this is forever ago then, I guess, was it 2016 or whatever, they brought Roseanne back and it was immediately the biggest show on TV.
Yep.
And then Roseanne had like some Ambien fit where she called some black girl a monkey. And then that all just had to go away.
Well, she didn't call a black girl a monkey. She called a girl that looked like a monkey. And then she found out she was black after the fact.
I thought the bitch was white.
Right. There's a lot more context to it than just she called some black chick a monkey. And arguably,
that's all anyone remembers, though.
And she does look
right. Yeah.
She wasn't.
She said she looked like the character in Planet of the Apes, which she does.
Yes, she does. 100%. It's not inaccurate. Roseanne, just because Roseanne hit it a little too on the nose didn't mean she was wrong.
I never claimed she was wrong.
The best poll of all time got her fired. Yeah.
But that just showed how
Connors
gearing
now.
Towards that.
Yeah.
Is that still going on?
Yeah. They
Connors?
continued to make them for a while without her. I don't know if it's still going on.
Got to be on life support if it's still on.
Yeah, they play it. I'd never seen it. I watched 10 minutes of an episode the other day actually because it was on, and I don't know. It was a
Didn't
TV
they
show, I
make
guess.
Sister a lesbian?
Probably.
Did they make the Roseanne's sister a lesbian or something?
Oh,
And
she
I
was
know the
lesbian in the
daughter was,
90s, though.
Yeah.
But
she was always a lesbian.
They didn't say that though.
Right.
Well,
She came out of the closet.
The daughter that was married to the gay kid that ended up being on Big Bang Theory. She was the one. She's a lesbian now, right? I could be wrong.
And just no one was a single mom, which is totally, makes sense.
Her name starts with a D.
Darlene.
I don't know.
No, that was one of the
Darlene.
Yep.
Darlene. Yeah. All I remember is the girl from Scrubs was replaced the blonde daughter at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We watched Roseanne as a family until the World
Mhm.
Series. Was it the World Series? Or the when she was singing the national anthem and disrespected.
Yeah, that was the World Series.
Yeah, disrespected the national anthem or something. So then we
Did
didn't
she
watch that
disrespect her,
anymore.
or was that just the best she could do?
I don't know. I don't even know if I've even seen the thing.
It's funny comparing our dads because my dad and Justin's dad and Dag's dad, from what you guys have told, they have a lot in common. My dad thought Roseanne singing the national anthem bad was hilarious.
Honestly, couldn't tell you what my dad's opinion of that was. Honestly, I don't think he probably even minded too much, if he even paid attention. But yeah.
Well, it was baseball, so my dad always paid attention.
Oh, we love the baseball. All right, so would we consider Tim Taylor, going back to the whole blue collar thing, would Tim Taylor be considered a blue collar kind of character? Because he had his own TV show. So clearly they were a bit affluent and they had a massive house, but everything was working with your hands, construction, it being innovative, redneck engineering, all that kind of stuff. So would you consider him more of a blue collar character, or was he faux blue collar?
And it was a local TV show too. It wasn't like a national show. So he was
Yeah,
he was
he
like
had other
big for
businesses.
he was like big
He owned
for
a hardware
the
store.
area, but yeah, he wasn't.
It's true. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And
So
he had Bob Vila always came in and dunked on him, shit on him because he was a small town show.
Yeah.
Fucking Bob Vila.
Yeah, I'll give it to him. He actually did the shit. He built the hot rod, and he built his contraptions, his more power contraptions.
Do not stare directly at the potato.
I still love the lawnmower race where he made extra money. You guys remember that?
What, racing?
He was
Where he
racing
souped up
Bob
his
Vila.
lawnmower.
Yeah, they had souped up lawnmowers, and he lost control and it just like drove through people's like fences, yards, everything. He's like, well, I got much in property damage, but I made this much for mowing a lawn.
So was the real father figure on that show Wilson? That was the name of his neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Remember, he'd always get like sage advice from the neighbor at some point in the show. He'd be struggling, and he'd go talk to the neighbor, and the neighbor would make some analogy from his travels to Nepal or something, and guide him.
Or is that just like
grandfatherly figure?
Yeah, right. That's what I was about to say. It was like the dad going to ask his dad for advice, like grandpa.
And for like a modern example, have y'all ever watched Blackish?
No.
What do you
Nope.
think?
Anthony,
What?
of course not.
What's that?
Anthony Anderson in like the first.
Oh, he was in the first Transformers. All right, yeah, I remember him.
Anthony Anderson's like
That's
dad
weird.
character in the first 2 or 3 seasons is really good, and then Lawrence Fishburne plays his dad, who's the grandfather, and he's kind of he's what you would expect from a black grandfather. He's kind of unfaithful and runs around a lot, but he's come back to try to be a grandfather figure later on, and to be a father and grandfather figure later on in his son's life. And it's interesting dynamics, especially if you grew up around black people a lot. Anyway, for the first few seasons, like Anthony Anderson is a good example of a like solid role model father type figure, and then the show gets progressively more woke as it goes, because we cross into from when the show started to what's going on in modern society. It gets more woke as it goes, and then it just becomes a fucking joke. But early on, it did a really good job. And like, you don't get shows that even do it well can't stick with it. They still have to like fuck it up.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like you crossed like over an epoch of like an era. I'm just throwing words out. Sounds smart. Where like there's like a line where like yeah, sure, right. Something is distinctly something before it is this now. That's what I'm getting at. And I guess the way you explain that show sounds like that. I can think of a couple shows, not right off the cuff right now, that are similar.
Yeah. So like the first 2 or 3 seasons, really good. Trump gets elected, and then it turns into woke progressive nonsense for the rest of its run. Like I have tried to watch past season 4 or 5, and I just like I've had to check out. Like I couldn't. But the first 3
Did
seasons
it go like
were
completely off the cliff after George Floyd? Like that's when it just kind of like went like.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I never even made it to that point. Like Trump
Really?
gets elected.
It was bad before then.
Yeah, like Trump gets elected, and then it just went off the fucking rails. Like it went from being a good family sitcom to now it's every episode is some progressive talking point bullshit, and it's like I just can't get preached to every week. Like this was cool, fun, like I said, especially if you grew up like hanging out in black neighborhoods or around black families. Like it was good. My kids would sit there and stare at me and couldn't understand why I would laugh so hard at some of the stuff from the show. I'm like, y'all, obviously I have not raised you around black people enough. Like you don't understand why this shit is so fucking funny.
But that,
good
like
or
that
bad.
the whole Cliff Duke was talking about, that's like what took him from being the next Steve Harvey away from him. You know, he could.
Yeah.
I mean, he still hosts game shows, but who cares? Who the fuck's watching him?
A lot of people.
Steve Harvey?
A lot of old people.
No, Anthony Anderson.
Ah,
I thought you were talking about Steve Harvey. No.
Steve Harvey does a good Family Feud. He's no
Oh,
Richard
yeah.
Dawson, but he's pretty good.
Well,
No,
you just say
he's not
Richard
drunk.
Dawson and walk up and just kiss every single chick on the show.
Yeah, literally.
Dude,
He
amazing.
wasn't drunk making out with the
It was a-
guest. You know?
Yeah.
He was a fucking G.
Dude, the best. I know I've said this before. But the best was that the dads were there, and they're like, "Oh man, Richard, we love you. I made you this in my workshop. It's a plaque with your name on it. You know, and it says free beer tomorrow or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, this is great. Please come down, kiss all my family, kiss my beautiful daughters." He's coming, kisses the wife, and the wife's like, "Oh, my wife, she loves you. Kiss her, please." You know, it's like, what is going on here? This is insane.
Those were not good father figures.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
Please fuck my wife.
Right here on the stage.
This is a feud, isn't it?
My daughter, she's all of 15. Give her a kiss on the lips. Please give her herpes 1. It is.
HPV. She's got the vaccine.
Oh man, but he's great. I like Richard. I like him. So we watch it. They play it on Pluto, the classic ones.
It's entertaining. Yeah, for sure.
Dude, well, he's almost like James Bondish, like classy. You know, like he knows a lot of like world history and like French and this and that. Like he's a smart dude. You know, but
He's got that British charm.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
But now they plug
half drunk. Yeah, good.
They plug every retard in to host a show now. That's why we have like who's the fucking asshole Ryan Seacrest that hosts like 15 shows now. He's not impressive.
Nope, he's just daytime mom safe.
Yep.
Well, and that's what everything has to be. It all has to be.
Mhm.
It all has to be daytime mom safe. Like you can't have strong father figures because that makes daytime moms feel insecure, like they're not enough. Like, oh, can't be showing them that like dad can actually like do something, because then they'll start looking to dad to do something. And then we also I think that's created a generation of soft fucking dads that roll over and let everybody walk on them because that's what they see on TV every week. They stopped embodying the dads that we grew up with, and they have allowed themselves to be changed into the dads that we see on TV now. I am no soft anything. Like there is nothing soft about me. I started to get a little bit soft a couple years ago. I started to get a little bit soft a couple years ago, and I was like, nah, fuck that shit, and started running 3 miles a day. Like I don't do soft, and I don't roll over and let other people make the decisions for my family. God love her. My wife is an incredible and intelligent woman, but I hold all of the trump cards. Like when I say this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. Like, and from like talking to Sean about like the father figures of his kids or like his friends, and seeing the father figures of the kids in these schools, like they have all
fucking sad.
They've all become these like modern TV sitcom dads. It's fucking pathetic.
They're all Phil Dunphy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad. But their wives also watch the fuck out of Modern Family and all of these other like sitcoms where that's the dad. So the wives have now taken it upon themselves that even whether or not their husband was competent and capable, they have now just taken it upon themselves that they're going to do shit. And it's like, and the men just allow it. Like, grow a fucking spine. Let your, like, where did your balls go? Sorry.
They've received the programming. I know like this is going to be brash for a couple of you guys. So my wife has taken over my son's Cub Scouts troop. She heads up like a lot of the Boy Scout stuff, like the camps, the retreats, a lot of that. And it's only by what do you call it? Anyway, we have to because we have different schedules and things like that. But she's done a good fucking job. Like she's still like doing stuff that boys would be interested in. She gets like left behind because like the whole organization is like fucking corrupt and like nobody wants to do anything. So like my wife has stepped up and like taken that part of it. So like we've done camp trips. We have like we're gonna build birdhouses and we're gonna nail them. We're gonna build fucking what's this little boxcar racer cars? The ones you drop.
Pine box.
Yeah. She's headed up that, and it's been really fucking cool because my boys still get to do like that stuff, but there's still some cool dads there. I will not like lament that, but it just sucks that a woman has to go in there and do that. And I wish I could be there, but my job does not allow me those hours.
You gotta be a dad and make the dough.
Yeah, you got other responsibilities. Like it's like you're not able there to be there, but like you said, you wish that other dads would be able to step up. But hey, at least you got your wife there that could step up. And she's not trying to like feminize it or anything like that.
Say Cub Scouts.
Yeah.
Boy Scouts. Cub Scouts. I think when I was in Cub Scouts, it was like the moms who were running it.
I would say, when I was in Cub Scouts, it was the moms that generally ran Cub Scouts, and then once you got up to Boy Scouts, that was when you got the men that were running it. So
big guys are on, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't be too worried about that. Like, don't feel too bad about that. But also, like, if there are dads that have the time, it would be better if they would get fucking involved. And again, it's Boy Scouts, so I'm sure there's a certain level. There may possibly be a certain level of stigma with Boy Scouts and what the Boy Scouts organization has become over the years. That maybe the dads who could do it maybe don't want to. But do y'all have what's the other scouting thing? Wild.
The one you mentioned, I don't remember.
Yeah, I know we've got one. We've got one around here, and we've got one back home where.
But what's hilarious is like when I can make it to events, the moms and all the kids just shut up and listen to me when I direct stuff. Like we had to do something stupid, like hand out like flyers at a Tennessee Titans game or something like that. The boys hear that voice and they're like, okay. When I say do this, they do that. Something else. I don't know. I'm rambling. My apologies.
Well, there is something to say for that. Even with our dogs, even with our dogs, like when we put the dogs out, if they don't want to come back in, Stephanie will stand there at the door and yell at them to come back in the house, and they won't do anything. I walk to the door, snap my finger, and both of them come shooting in the door. Like it's the only thing in the world that matters is that they get back in this fucking house. I don't even have to yell at them. So there is something for like the command that the male figure has, that especially if it's a strong male figure. And again, that's one of those things that, like, when Red Foreman talked, everybody shut the fuck up. When those 90s TV sitcoms dads, when shit hit the fan and they were like dad mode, everybody shut the fuck up and listen. Whereas now what you see in the modern in the modern era of that, everybody ignores them. They're like, oh, you go away. Like we've got this without you. Like you don't see that.
Yeah, dad's a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
commercials.
There's something that you were kind of touching.
Bad.
You don't see that.
Go ahead.
Oh, No, yeah, you're right, Dag. The commercials are like really bad now. Every commercial is there's a retard husband, and they're like, what is the ones that they were doing with the backup quarterbacks? Like you have like the have you seen that one where like the backup husband, like the husband's up there trying to do something and he's like totally failing, and then they bring in Colt McCoy to do the job for him, or
Ouch.
one of the other.
Made him real good.
My heart.
Yeah, they've asked you like the fuck out of him. Like one of them was oh god, what's his name? The guy without eyebrows. Dobbs. They like bring in Dobbs to do it. It's like, all right, what else are you having Dobbs come in and do that your husband can't do? But I digress. Something I think you were kind of touched on a little bit there, Justin, talking about like not really many dads stepping up, like say Boy Scouts. Is there's also been a huge stigma in the culture where it's like if you're a man and you want to work with kids, you have to be a pervert. You have to be a pedo. Like there has to be something wrong with you if you want to work with kids. So like, where did that come from in the in the zeitgeist where it's like, all right, well, like you might just be a guy that wants like, what was it like last year? I worked with third graders. Like I was teaching third graders. Like they needed a strong fucking male voice to work with some of these kids. But like, I always had in the back of my head, it's like, what do these parents really kind of think? I mean, I always had them thanking me for some of the things that like guidance and everything that I would do and having that strong disciplinarian, like kind of like tone about me. But in like culture and in society in general, like they always kind of look at you as if you're like, why is he doing this? It's like, he's got to be weirdo if he's working with kids. So it's like, maybe that's a reason why not many kids or not many dads want to get involved with Cub Scouts. Cause not only that, you also have the stigma of the pedos in the Boy Scouts. You know, it's like, it's just like being a altar boy and a priest or something. Oh, why is this priest working with these guys? They got to be a pedo instead of it just being, oh, he's trying to mentor and being like an actual like father figure for these people.
Well, I think some of that also goes back to men have become less confrontational. A lot of society and culture has kind of dulled our sense of a competitive and a confrontational nature. I haven't experienced any of that. I think I actually fight back against that and have become more confrontational over the last few years. I get less chill every year, but it's like when that sort of stuff is presented, now men don't have the balls to just be like, or maybe it's because these fucking kids need a strong male figure so that they understand what it is to be a strong male when they grow up. And sorry, but all of you estrogen bitches are not providing that. So somebody had to step up, and I'm the one that did it. I loved the sideline coach moms whenever I coached high school basketball that, oh, why do you yell at the kids? Like, lady, have you ever fucking played basketball? Like, if you are on the court, there are 9 other kids on the court running around. All of them are yelling at each other. You got shoes squeaking, a ball bouncing. The other team's coach is yelling. There are people in the stands yelling. If I, as the coach of your kid, do not yell at the top of my lungs at your kid will never fucking hear a word that comes out of my mouth. So
it's what we call projecting.
I yell at your kid, but that's the only way that you can communicate here. So until
it's not your volume, it's your tone.
Oh my god!
But also, when I yell, it's like when I walk up to the door and snap my fingers and the dogs come straight in. When I yell, every one of those fucking kids on that court knows exactly who just yelled, and they hear it and they respond to it. And that's the thing, that we as men command that presence, but society has tried to remove that presence from us. And now a lot of modern men have followed the archetype of the modern TV sitcom dad, in that they shrink away from the command and the authority that we have naturally. Like that's not something that I like practice. That's like that
just innate in you.
Yeah, it's in more or less every man to some extent. Some might repress it more than others, but it's there. And as much as like, you know, you've always got that really like mild-mannered, soft-spoken dad that doesn't, you know, he doesn't really get involved and stuff. But when he gets involved, everybody shuts the fuck up and listens.
Yeah, it's like what Forte was just talking about. It's like whenever he's around, they fucking listen to him.
Right.
Because he's got that, the sternness about him.
I had that moment with Duke doesn't know, but you guys do. The fun relationship I have with my wife's sister. The husky sister. Anyway,
the sister herself is not husky, or at least if she is, that hasn't been part of the conversation.
No, touche. Anyway, so there
she
was
owns a husky.
there was a time when her second youngest, my nephew, like bucked up to her when dad was at work. Dad was working a lot of overtime hours, and she told him to go to his room, and he like bulldozed through her and like shoulder checked her. I was like, I'm sorry, I lost it. I was like, I screamed at him in my dad voice, and I scared everybody in the house. My wife, her sister, the mother-in-law. I didn't know you could be that loud.
It's funny you mentioned that. So we've been talking about my stepson quite a bit here of late because of some the grief he's been giving me. When he first moved in with us several years, and his dad is like a very weak-jawed individual. I'll just leave it at that. I can't be in the same room with him because I feel like I just need to body slam him. Anyway,
one of those guys.
Yeah. So anyway, when Kalen first moved in with us, he was going through his teenage angsty phase, and he got all pissy about something. Stephanie was telling him to do something, and he called her a bitch. And I came around the corner and grabbed him by his collar, and I said, "If you ever call your mother that again, it'll be the last fucking word that comes out of your mouth." And his eyes got about that big, and he never talked bad to his mother ever again to this day. He will not say a cross word to her at all because he knows for a fact it'll be the last fucking word that comes out of his mouth. And
it's not a threat, it's a promise.
Right. But he had never had a strong male figure like that would snatch him up. And for as much grief as he's given me and as much problems as we've had with him and other bullshit that's going on over the last couple months, anytime I talk to him, he is very direct. He is very yes sir, no sir, answers questions. Like, I get straight answers out of him. So anytime I ask Stephanie, like, what's going on with Kalen and what's going on with this, and she'll say, oh, well, he said that. I'm like, all right, fuck this. I'm going to call him. Like, he'll give me a straight answer. Like, he's not going to fuck around with me. So, like, kids, like, especially young men, need that strong male role model, whether it's a father or a teacher. Like, oh my gosh.
I think they called that imprinting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like, dude, talking about teaching third graders. My mom was a preschool teacher for forever. And she was like, one of the biggest problems that we have in the elementary schools these days is we don't have strong male elementary school teachers. Like, growing up, we didn't have many of them, but I think like second grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade, there was one in the school for each grade. So you had like that one, there were 3 other women teachers. So most of your time, odds are you had a woman teacher for your elementary school. But at recess or in the cafeteria when kids were getting unruly, it was that male teacher that would be the one that would, snap his fingers and everybody would shut the fuck up. Like, you need that. Kids, and especially young boys, need that kind of a figure because now what we get, how many times do we see stories about like 4th grade kids that beat up their teacher, like because they don't respect the teacher, because there's not that strong male figure that they're like, oh, if I start starting some shit, I might get knocked the fuck out. Right. I know for a fact Mr. Tucker would have knocked me the fuck out if I ever started some shit. Like
ideally they would be getting that from home from a strong Dan Connor type of parent, but
But those have been
Somebody
booted
got
out of
no
society
dads.
as well.
yeah. But yeah, man. We're talking about the Cub Scouts and like to Duke's point as well, like on Kindergarten Cop, everybody thought that Arnold was gay because he was a male kindergarten teacher. Like, well, he must be gay. But there is also like men dealing with kids. And maybe this is just me, but I feel like the really young kids, like that's women territory. Men don't have the patience for like little kid bullshit. It's like they got to get to like old enough to be able to, take them out in the boat.
Kindergarten, first grade. That's
give
women
them
all
a
the way.
give them a choke slam on the mattress.
yeah, just something where they can be they're a little more like a person, than I think maybe men, especially old timey men. I don't think one thing that like kids have today is people have time for their bullshit, and like back in the day, like men didn't have time for kids' bullshit. So like if you were hanging out with men and you were a little kid, like you'd be told to shut the fuck up or what the fuck ever. At least I don't know. Maybe this is me. Maybe it's more personal.
It's not. It's not just you.
Yeah, when it's a bunch of women, like you're hanging out with your mom and her friends, it's blah, 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 or whatever. And when women are mean or assertive or whatever, it's terrifying in a totally different way than when men are. By the way, like I've had some like women, like an aunt or something, yell at me, finger in the face. Whew. In some ways, that's way more terrifying than any man that's ever done it, but it's a very different way. It's a lot less respect, more like, oh God, I never want to piss one of those off again. But anyhow, I do think there is also like the younger kids, like the Cub Scout versus the Boy Scout age range. Maybe Cub Scouts is more of like they're young, that's let women handle that. When they get a little bit older and maybe, we got the patience for them, we can show them something cool, like how to fucking tie a fishing hook, until maybe that's a good cutoff when you can tie and bait a hook.
Well, that's like you talk about, hanging out with the adult men. There is a different expectation. I remember going to like squirrel camp or to the hunting camp with my dad and my granddad, and like the expectation of me and my brother was if we were not going to go out into the woods and just completely fuck off and not see anybody for the next 3 hours, like if we were going to hang out around the camp, then you got to be ready to fetch beer, fetch food, and also pay attention to the way Dad is playing or pay attention to the way Papa's playing, because if one of them needs to get up and go pee, you got to hold their fucking cards and play the next hand. And if you fucking lose, you're going to get smacked upside the head. Like you need to understand the game and be ready to sit down. And if nothing else, just don't lose them more than their ante. Like, I learned that shit early.
It was a nickel and dime game.
I doubled down on a fucking pair of queens or something and lost like $1, which they just played quarter poker, but $1 in quarter poker is a lot of money. It's like lost $1. I doubled down on some fucking pair of queens thinking I had a good hand. It's like, oh no, you got to learn how to actually play the fucking game.
Yeah, I think of all the. Even like at home, I had a dad and everything, until my parents got divorced. I was 10 at that point. But anyhow, we did a lot of camping, and I'd go to like work with my dad. My dad was an electrician. So it was a lot of hanging out with, me, a young child, and a big group of adult men who drank and smoked and did God only knows what other drugs that I was too young and dumb to realize they were doing, while we were hanging out. But yeah, it's, it's a real big, it's a, you learn how to fucking act, and you learn how to take bullshit, you learn to not get too offended when somebody talks shit to you for, whatever. And there was usually, I had like special rules. Like if we were camping, I was allowed to curse, but once we came home, you got to cut that shit out. It's back to being a polite gentleman.
Yeah. Mom doesn't need to hear you saying that shit.
Yeah,
because then she's gonna know that it was my influence is why you were saying that shit. So,
yeah, it's my fault. You're such a little shit.
Do you guys still feel bad cussing in front of your mom? I still do.
No.
I try not to, but I do. My mom.
All right, I'm with Dag.
Yeah,
I'll do it, and she'll allow it, and she won't say anything, but I still feel bad.
See, my mom has a very guilty conscience and is a really like genuinely sweet, nice person. Like she's perfect for a preschool teacher because you need that kind of like patience and love and general like care for the world. And me and my brother don't really have that. So like we would like once we started figuring out stuff as we got older, we would like grill her on stuff, and she can't lie at all. So we kind of passed the point of not like cussing and acting like dumbasses around our mom a long time ago. But that was also probably has more to do with me and my brother and our personalities than
that's
a mom thing.
I'm kind of the same way. Like my mom, she's a very sweet lady, but it's now once I got to the point where I was like drinking and like once I like smoked weed with my mom, I didn't care about fucking cursing in front of her anymore, you know.
But with that being said, like my conversations with my dad versus with my mom, my conversations with my dad are a lot more like business formal, like we're talking about stuff. And then when we get to like shooting the shit kind of talking, then I will cuss. But when we're like having a conversation, I'm a lot less likely to cuss than like just in the course of a normal conversation. Like with y'all, I'm probably going to say a lot of cuss words. I don't even pay attention. My wife is like, I can't watch your show because you cuss too much. I'm like, I don't even realize that I cuss ever. Like if you asked me, I couldn't tell you. If you asked me, I couldn't tell you a single cuss word I said in this entire episode. But apparently, I'll have said fuck like 27 times. And I like, why are you counting? That doesn't make sense. But anyway, like when I'm having a conversation with my dad, I'm a lot less likely to cuss than I am with my mom. But then also if we're just shooting the shit and talking about dumb shit, then I will like loosen up and cuss more. It's like the deer camp dad versus going to work dad.
Mm-hmm.
My old man curses up a storm. Whatever, Magoo. We know you like hanging out with black people.
Hey, Magoo. Hey, Magoo. Fuck you.
No, my dad cusses all the fucking time. He's always fuck this, fuck that, nigger this, nigger that. He doesn't give a shit. Like we'll be in the Mexican restaurant and he'll be talking about how my brother like niggered stuff, and I'm like, Dad, why don't you like tone it down a little bit? We're in public.
Well, did Did your brother?
I mean, did he do it? If he did it, and then you're like, it's not.
He did. Oh,
It's accurate.
It's very accurate.
I'm not saying the word. I'm just describing a situation.
Exactly. That's what I tell my kids too. They're like, you can't say that, Dad. I'm like, I'm not saying it. I'm just explaining something. Like that's the proper terminology for it.
Yeah, it's like my brother's white, so he can call him that all he wants, I guess. It's not offensive. Actually, he's half Mexican, but so I guess maybe.
But was he wrong?
Wait, you got a half Mexican brother, and you look like
I think he's like 2/3 Mexican, different moms.
I think out of all of us, like DK Duke looks just more like me than all y'all.
White?
Yeah, exactly.
The whitest
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah,
If you
because
tell me you're not Irish,
Italian
I
and
would be
Justin's
shocked.
a fucking wagon burner. Anyway, so Dad, I would
digress.
love to hear your presentation about Earl Sinclair from Dinosaurs.
yes.
Yes.
Wrap us up on
Before I go, yeah.
Duke's got to go to bed, and you probably need to too.
Yeah.
Give us the breakdown of Earl.
Oh, I just we really like that one. We watched it as a family. I went back and watched some of the episodes recently, and I thought it was like very classic sitcom, whatever. But he was the working dad, had the shitty job, that sort of the Homer Simpson-y kind of job, like lunch pail boss, this, that, the other. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry, I didn't have a big grand thing. I just wanted to make sure we talked about that show.
You need to talk about the dinosaurs.
Because it fits the mold of TV dad,
does.
but
It really
And
fits
in
that
general, it's
90s,
fucking funny.
really fits that 90s TV mold or TV dad mold, because like you had the son, Robbie, that was always having like
rebellious son.
Yeah,
cool
he was
mohawk
always
and
having
stuff,
something crazy going on, and then you always had dad that's like, all right, look, you're a dumbass, but it's okay. I still love you. This is how we're going to get through it. Like, I feel like I have that conversation with my son on almost a daily basis.
Yep. Yeah. They had the baby, the son, the daughter. You know, it was
Not
very
the mama.
very typical for me. Yeah. The dad didn't get any respect from the baby.
And then,
No.
but there is like, we've got the box set of the whole dinosaurs series. But
Nice.
there is a moment where they have something like catastrophic that happens, and Earl comes through clutch, and the baby calls him dad, or calls him daddy. He doesn't call him not the mom.
Yeah.
He calls him daddy, and it's like, oh, like you like.
Was that the last episode when like the asteroid came?
It was close, but he was Earl was the only one that heard that. So of course,
Oh,
nobody else in the family heard that.
he only sort of gets his W. He gets his W, but nobody's there to see it. So is it really a W?
I mean, if the tree falls in the woods to make a noise, it doesn't matter because it still fell.
You score, you score.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need more
I'm gonna have to go
90s
back and watch
sitcom
those.
dads in not just on TV, but in society in general.
Agreed.
I think
If we
that's-
could come
I think
to any conclusion, we need.
Fair
we could still be joking around. We could still be fucking around a little bit, but we need to actually have some strong guidance and to actually have the shoulders to like carry people through it, families through difficult situations, with all the dads seem to do. You know,
It's up.
When
It starts
the
with us, guys.
rubber
We
hits
have
the
to be the '90s dads we want to see in the world.
I will continue to be Red Foreman and call my son a dumbass on a daily basis. That much I can.
I can't wait
guarantee.
for the day, but I'll probably have daughters, so
You will learn whole new things from that experience as well. So I think being a strong dad for a daughter is maybe even more important than being a strong
Fucking
dad for a
hard.
son. Like, yeah,
keep
there's
them off OF. man.
I can beat up my sons.
right.
It's what they base their
Right.
they
Sean
base
is
their idea of like their future husband on is
right.
the
Sean's
quality of their
6'4",
father.
290
So, that's a
pounds.
big
If he
thing.
acts like a
Yeah,
moron,
great day.
I can just throw him down and beat on him. Like if my daughter is being a
Man.
pain in the ass, we have to have whole conversations, and it's this emotional thing, and it's so much different because like while I can physically
Speaking of being a dad,
while I can just physically pick her up and body slam her, that's not going to accomplish
You're
the
not going
same thing as it does with my son. Like,
You know, the boy you can typically,
you know, the cops called on you.
back of the head. Hey, quit being a dumbass, huh?
yeah.
You know, and you know.
Did I tell y'all he
straighten him
got
out,
big a couple weeks ago? He thought he was going to take me down, and so he like tried to jump on my back, and yeah, that ended up with him in the floor getting choked out. It was fun.
but
Little
be careful
judo
with
throw.
the strong.
He's
point,
like,
you know.
okay, stop, I can't breathe, stop. I'm like, you sure you want me to stop? Because you're the one that jumped on me, motherfucker. As I just keep
Think you can take the old man?
as I keep slowly squeezing him a little bit tighter and a little bit tighter, and I feel his breathing get a little more labored and a little more labored.
Now, see, this is the
24
blood
inch
sugar.
pythons.
It's only a little bit of pressure right here.
Like at what point should I stop squeezing? Yeah,
When you get limp.
When you hear aspiration,
I did almost break
The
my
slight
brother's neck.
snap.
That's when you went too far.
As long as,
Hey,
he's
we're just
still,
playing.
as long as he's still smacking me and telling me stop, that means we haven't
Yep.
crossed that line yet. Yeah,
This went off the rails.
kids need more of
I'm
that.
sorry. It did. It did.
Kids need more of that these days. Be a strong male role model. Smack your kids around.
Hell yeah.
Tonight's public service.
Peaceful parenting is for fucking faggots.
Fuck you, Mr. Rogers.
Oh damn it! I don't have it on this one. I was gonna on the morning show like media assets thing. I've got the more you know.
Retard switch.
No, it was.
Oh,
I thought I had it built into this one, but I don't. Damn, that's a shame. Anyway, that would have been a perfect closer for this. But all right, say goodnight, everybody.
yeah.
Tell-
Edit it. Make
good
it
night,
better.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right. I guess everybody in like Jim. So fuck you, Jim.
Hi guys.
Good night,
Bye,
Jim.
Jim. Love you.